So, good afternoon, good night for our Indian friends, and good morning or whatever else you're in the world. Hopefully, maybe, Prayag, do you think someone will be seeing us from Mars or from the moon? Open your mic. Your mic.
Hello.
Please share.
Hi guys.
Okay.
I
So,
am Prayag Biswas.
your Prayag with Biswas, that's good. But my question first was, do you think anyone is seeing us, the streaming or later in YouTube, from Mars or from the moon? Okay, so thank you, Prayag, for staying with us today. This is I think the third training. This will be the last day I count them because we are gonna have many. So it's a pain to be counting them. So it's today our third training for the Liquid Galaxy community and everyone that wants to learn something. And I thank you for staying with us and late because if I am not right, it's 9:30 in the night in India.
Yes, sir.
So it's 5 p.m. here in Spain, and other people that will see us from US or Brazil or whatever, Canada and so on, it will be early morning. So today's training is about basic UI designs. You will be doing that in Figma, and later you will convert this to Flutter. Is that the point?
Yes, sir.
Very good. And every I mean, you will focus on for the Liquid Galaxy stuff we do at the community, but of course this training can be used for anyone for any kind of project. So again, thank you for staying with us. And only one thing for the audience, the contributors that are saying to us, looking at us, after Prayag ends his training, I don't know how much time it will take. We will be answering your questions at Discord, not here, okay? We will be using our Discord, and the channel will be the questions and answers channel. So let me mute myself and close my camera, and the stage is yours. You can start.
Okay, sir. It's my honor, sir. So I'll start with the topic of today, that is basic UI designing in Figma and conversion to Flutter. So before going to the topic, I'll just start with a little bit about myself. So I am Prayag Biswas, and currently I am a fourth year student, which is final year for computer science and engineering here the topic in India. Of today, that is basic. I was a contributor last year, and I am becoming a mentor this year. So then today's topic will be I'll start with the introduction. Then I will show you a cool UI in Figma, and then how to do the same in Flutter, and then my personal tips and suggestions. So before starting, I'll make sure that I'll keep it as much as short and more informative as possible, because I also know that 3 hours long session is also boring. So I'll just try to make it as fun as possible. So let's start. Design is the beauty of turning constraints into advantages. Why? Because you have given a screen, you have certain heights and widths, but don't see that in that way. Like, I have a screen, I have only that fixed amount of height and width. You can do many things with that within that height, within that boundary. So that is called the design. And whose word is that? I just random searching in the Google and found it. Introduction. So why this session is important? Why the importance of UI is given so much? Because if like there are many people who can do the coding, and the how to do that coding. You need in every project that has front end, you have to see some kind of UI and visualization, then follow that UI and turn it into the code. But what if the UI is bad? Your code, maybe your code is the best, you are the best coder in the world, but still no one gonna appreciate your product because it looks bad. There are some text is not aligned in the center, it's something to the right, it should have been in the center. The color is very bad, like all things are like black and white, and the color combination is also bad. So yes, your code may be very good, but no one is gonna look into your code first. The first thing that attracts all of us is the UI. Uh, So there are some stats that how the users reacts to the UI. Here comes the difference between UI, and UX. This is a very common question. We all know that we all say that UI UX designer uh, do this UI UX. Figma is for UI UX, all those things. But what are UI UX? UI stands for user interface, and it stands for the design that we make. And UX, it's the stands for user experience, that how the button works, how this animation is smooth or not, uh, if the code has some kind of bug or not. It's basically how the user feels about that product. And there are some common concepts between UI and UX also. So in this session, we are gonna cover the UI part and its conversion to the code. The UX part will also be covered in another session by Sir, who is a professional UI UX designer. So let's continue. Figma. What is Figma? Figma is one of the most popular uh, website for designing wireframes of a product. What is wireframe? Before making a product, we make lots of flowchart kind of thing, and the UI also. So the flowchart also comes under the wireframe part. Wireframe is basically before you make a house, you first make a design, right? All of the engineers make a design first before making a bridge. You just don't take the cement and brick and just jump into making the bridge. It's not, it doesn't work in that way. So similarly, in our software engineering also, we need to make a wireframe of the product. And that is done in various softwares, but Figma is the most popular one. So why Figma? It's free. There are many paid plans also, but as long as like there are most of the features available to all of you for free. Easy for beginners. You don't need to learn many design softwares before coming to Figma. For example, many may fear that I am new to the design. How can I start with the Figma? Is it possible for me? I don't know Adobe. I don't know any Adobe software. So how can I design? Fear not. Figma is very easy. And today I'll teach you a real-time collaboration. Suppose you want to make a design and your friend wants to make a modification to it. You can just simply add him to it, and he and you can collaborate together to make a very beautiful design, cloud-based. So you don't need to download any app or any sorts of application into your mobile or into your PC. You just log in into the Figma, open Chrome browser, and start designing. Some popular alternatives to Figma are Sketch. Sketch is for those Mac users only. Sketch is a very good alternative to Figma, but as I said, the limitation is for the Mac user only. There is a funny thing about the Adobe XD in the middle is that many of you may not know that last year, around this time only, Adobe bought Figma. Figma was at that time a very large company, and it had its own uh, player base. So then Adobe bought Figma, and now we call it Adobe Figma. But before Adobe bought Figma, they had their own wireframing software called Adobe XD. Innovation, I don't know much personally, but as I found out that it's used by most of the professional companies that they use for their UI UX designing. So Sketch is kind of similar to Figma. HD is a little bit different, but it serves the same purpose as Figma. And Innovation, you have like more control to the animations and all the pro features that uh, you can do in any sorts of designing, but it's a little bit harder for the newbies. And if you want to go pro, it costs a little bit more than a Figma. So some names of the as like Adobe buying Figma. So in this game, you can see like Adobe is like killing the Figma, but it's not. It's just for the name. So yeah, let's jump into the demo. So before going to the demo, I'll guys share you the links of the Figma designs and also the GitHub link of the code. So you guys can uh, go into this link and view me live doing that code. Sorry, design. So this is the design that we are gonna replicate and we are gonna see the code later on. So for example, I am a very new to the Figma. So what can I do? Just ignore everything for now. I'm just new to the Figma and it will open up something like this to you. So the first step that you have to do before making any design is that you have to declare a frame. So what is a frame? Frame is basically the screen of your wireframe. For example, you want to view it in the mobile. You can create a frame for your mobile. You want to do in a MacBook. So create a frame for the MacBook. So I'm gonna create a frame for the MacBook 14-inch. You can make any resolution and any size of your own, but there are also some presets given to you for fast frame making. So I'll choose MacBook 14-inch. So we are presented with this white screen. This is the frame on which we are gonna do everything regarding that screen of the page. So one frame means one screen of the page. So let's start. This is the mouse with which you can drag and select anything. If you are gonna, if you get lost in something, for example, you have take this text on and you are like searching where did my mouse go, where did my mouse go? So you can just click on it and it will select it. So you can select the background colors of it. You can set any background colors of it. So I will set it this for now. Then at first you may think that where are all the widgets? If any one of you had opened Photoshop or Illustrator before, you get to see a huge 20 to 30, at least 20 to 30 tools in the left hand side of your screen, and you get very confused that you need to search for an eraser, you need to search for all those tiny buttons and click everything to see where is the eraser and where is all those things. Fear not, Figma is very easy and it is very user friendly also. That's why I wanted to start with the Figma only. So as you can see, there are only few sets of tools, but with these few sets of tools, don't think that you cannot do many things. Like as I said, Adobe had many tools in them. So you may think Adobe is better. I may not do this design in Figma, but no, you can do everything in Figma. If not everything, most of the things. So if you just click on this drag down button, you can see many shapes you can create. You can create pen and pencil for your custom shapes. You can type anything. You can import your own widgets also. And you can make comments also. So I'll start with a shape tool and rectangle. So in this design, I will first start with the background. The background you're seeing behind me, I'll start with that. So where did I find the background? Just search anything like cool nebula wallpaper. Go to the Google, search for the right image, and you can just download it. But for now, I'll just use my preset assets, which I have already used. So I'll just use this image here on. After this, you see that the image is cropped only to the frame. Yes, that's why that is the importance of the frame, that it is your screen of the device, so it cannot extend beyond it. So let me just zoom out a little bit so it looks good. and you can just adjust the position of the image, and I'll just keep it to it. Then what you can see, something is added to the left hand side of the Figma. What is this? Wallpaper flare one. It's the name of the file that I've used. And all these are the layers under this frame. So if you just expand this frame, you can see these layers, and the indentations of these layers indicates the uh, topmost layer and like the layer tree. Uh, a few of you may have done coding in Python. Indentations works in a similar way here. So the image here was slightly darker. So what to do here? You can just select this image here. You can just select here also, or you can click here also. Again, if your mouse is something something else, you can click back here and click here again. You can see all the properties of the image in the right hand side. Here you get to see this image, and this is the opacity. So you can reduce the opacity to like to certain amount, for example 20. It's a kind of bright still. You can make it to 15. Also, if you don't want to put any source of number here, just if you show your mouse, over your mouse here, you can just see a little arrow here. See, I am getting this little arrow. So I can just click on, just hold my mouse button, and while holding, I can just drag my mouse button, and see, it will like change the value dynamically. So I'll just keep it at 15. Our background is done. Still, if you zoom in a little bit, there are some curves in the frame. So how to add the curve? Just click on the frame, and here, as I said, all the properties are shown. So here in the properties, this stands, you can just hover it and it will show you what property stands for. So it's showing corner radius. So I don't know what corner radius will be perfect for it. So I just hold my mouse here, click it, and just drag it. I'll keep dragging it until I'm satisfied with the radius of, and yeah, this is fine. I'll just drag it a little bit down so it syncs with it. Now our background is done. Then which component we have to start first? So my personal suggestion is that start with the topmost layer. Like at first start with the background, then go to the topmost layer, that is this layer. Then after that, like make the app bar. If you have any left panel or right panel, make that first. Then come to the body of the website or any app. So I need to make this row first, that Liquid Galaxy demo, my profile, this hamper first. So how to make it? I'll just select a rectangle from here. From all these tools, I'll select the rectangle, bring my mouse pointer here, click it, and then hold it. Yeah, you just created a rectangle into the design, but the color is still off. So we need to give it a color. So for now, give it let's give it a blue color. And we also need the curve similar to the frame. So how to add the curve again? You can just click on anything, and these properties will be same for anything. So again, you have the corner radius in the same place. You can just go here and drag it a little bit. Yeah, you are satisfied with it. So also I am zooming in at out with control minus and control plus. Those two buttons are just before your backspace. Control minus will zoom out, and Control plus will zoom in. But make sure that it like before zooming in and out, your click is on the screen of this Figma. If you click on this something outside, for example here, uh, it may zoom out your whole website. So make sure that it's clicked on the Figma only. So it will zoom in and out in the Figma only. So the first widget is done. So let's make it a little bigger to the right. And then let's copy it and paste it similarly to make the another 3 buttons. So how to copy and paste? Control C and Control V works. But there is another button to duplicate your widget, that is Control D. Just press Control D and see it will duplicate the selection. You can just drag it, and while dragging to make it align, I am just pressing the shift button. So while holding the shift, I'm just dragging it to the right, or I can just drag it to the down. Like it only allows the movement only to the vertical axis and to the horizontal axis. No corner axis is there. So I'll just drag it to the right, make it a little bit smaller, then Control D again, then Control D again. You can just select all these 4 widgets again. Just click on one, click Shift, and all the widgets that you click with the mouse button will get selected. So just shift it to the left, and you can see the middle, like it's perfectly aligned to the middle. Just a little bit top. Yeah, done. This has something different color like this. So I'll just change the color to this. And I can just also click on this hex code to copy the color and paste the color here. Also, if you don't want to copy the hex code, for example, you want to do with this background, this star color. So how can you get the star color? There is no hex on the star, right? So you can click on this widget. You can click on this color palette, and there is an ink tool. So what ink tool does is that it will allow you to like pick any color from anywhere. So I can just pick this color here and see it will pick that color. But I don't want that color, so I can just Control Z. So Control Z works here like any other coding IDE. And this button, I'll just give a little bit reddish color. But something seems a little bit off, right? If we compare these two widgets, we can see that our like this pre-made widget was a little bit transparent and some kind of glow up was here. So let's make it. So you can just change the opacity here as I did with the image. Just click on here, make the opacity, for example, 70. You can see, yes, the stars are coming out. Similarly, you can just make every widget the opacity 70. Then we need that glow up. So how to do the glow up? You can add any kind of effect in any widget. So I want to add an effect into this widget. So here in this section, you can see effects panel. Here, I'll just click on plus, and it will open a new drop shadow. You can change any kind of effect here in a shadow, layer blur, background blur. It will do anything. So for now, I'll choose the drop shadow. And in this sun icon, just click on it. You'll get all the details. I want the shadow to be in the start from like symmetrical from everywhere. So while the zero, blur, I'll just increase a little bit. And spread also you can increase. Spread and blur is little different. Spread is the width, the like thickness width of the blur, and blur value is that like blending property of that shadow. I'll choose the same color. You can just copy this hex and do it here. And the shadow is not visible, so I'll make it 100%. So yeah, we can see this nice glow up here. Similarly, I can make the effect same here also. Also, you may think that this is a little tedious job, right? Like suppose here are only 5 to 10 widgets. You can like easily manage, give those effects one by one to each one. But suppose there are hundreds of screen and you are working in a professional, and suppose after making that you don't want this blur. So will you go to those 100 widgets one by one and click this drop shadow and minus? No, this is not possible, right? So there is a trick around there, and I'll show this later, that how things are done in pro level. But for now, we are beginners, so we'll do the things manually. Drop shadow again. I'll just copy this hex code again here. In 100. Blur radius mode. Spread also 4. You can just delete this widget and copy it. To do that, delete this, copy it. This is kind of shortcut that you can just follow off your own. There is no like fixed path to it. This is everyone, like it's everyone's preference. Make it a little bit red again. Effect also, I'll copy this hex code. See, it's done. Then we are done, almost done with the topmost widget. But we need this text. So let's start writing some text. I will write liquid galaxy demo. The font size is just perfect for me. I'll just keep it at default, that is 22. I'll just center it to this widget. Also, while I'm moving this text and all things, I am holding the shift button. Like in between, I am just holding the shift button. These buttons are like something that you need to get habituated into. Like at first, you may just have a Google search and see what each buttons do for any designing tool. And after sometimes like after 2 or 3 designs, all those buttons will just stuck in your memory. And all these buttons are perform similar in every software design. For example, like you're holding shift and you can only, it limits your movement of the widget only to the left, right, or top or bottom. This performs same in Illustrator also. This performs same in After Effects or Photoshop also. So once you learn, you'll never like, it will be useful everywhere. I need to make it a visible little bit. Liquid Galaxy demo, not visible, because it's a title, right? We need to make it bold. Then here it was my profile. You can just name it settings 1. Also remember that it's a wireframe. It's not your actual code. This is not something that you have written settings 1. You have to write code settings 1 in your original production application. This is not. This is just a wireframe. You can just put any, just at least you can understand. So you can just, for your own reference and for the company you are working into, for those reference, you can just simply give a dummy name. I don't need this bold. So I can again change these properties from here. And not only this bold or things, you can just change your fonts from here. You can just import your own fonts. You can do many cool such things. So I'll just stuck with the basic font that is enter. You can just play with many properties here. Line height, letter spacing. For example, if I in this Liquid Galaxy demo, if we just increase the letter spacing to look like this. So these are all the properties that you can play with. So I'll just keep it default. The default looks good only. Like at more 99% of the time, you don't need like these three properties. Only the bold, the font of your choice, and this like a center it justified all those things, and you will be working fine. You don't need to like learn everything of the Figma to like code something like make a good design. So I'll just keep it settings on, and I just need that icon. So you can just download the icon from anywhere. I'll just simply copy it from here. Like same thing we did in the image. You can just uh, drag any icon here and it will appear here. And you can again control D and it will move here. Control D. I forgot to press Control D. Yeah. And you can name it disconnected. And we need to center it again. Also, now you may notice that our left panel is a lot of messed up. So we need to make sure that we work with good organizing the layers. How to organize the layers? For example, this is settings one. After hundreds of widgets, you won't find your settings one here. Like to find one settings one, it will get like a 5 to 10 minutes. So that's not how it works. So you can just make this settings one and the background rectangle one, two. How to group? You can just press Control G. You just don't remember all these shortcuts for now. Just right click on it, select all these layers, right click on it, and press group selection. And it will group the selection. You can also right click, rename. You can just name it button 1. Okay. Similarly, you can just group it and make it button 2, or you can just name it like settings 2, your choice. So that when you come back, you know that yes, this button 1 contains this rectangle and settings. And as I said, all the layer structure works like the Python indentations. So the settings 1 and rectangle 4 is under button 1, and it's bottom to top approach. So this is at the bottom and this layer will be on the top. So if I just put the button under the wallpaper and make the wallpaper a little bit bright, see this button 2 is hidden under the wallpaper. So I forgot to put this icon under it. So suppose you have made a group and you forgot to put something into that group. So don't panic, don't ungroup the group. You can just hold it, drag it down, and just shift it to the right. See, it has come under this layer also. So layer structure works in this way. I'll just put the button above the background also. And in similar way, you can just make a group of this also. So we are done. We are almost done with the topmost app bar. Let's make this sidebar. So you can just control D again. If you just take your mouse to the corner of this four vertices, to show an arrow by dragging which you can just turn it upside down. You can just keep it here, drag it a little bit upward, and you need this rectangle also, like this color rectangle also. Drag it down in the similar way. Also, this rectangle also came under this button one, but we don't need it. We can just drag it outside of it to come outside of it. And see, like I have lost that, like the rectangle below it because I didn't organize my file in a good way. But I am trying from the perspective of a newbie. If you just look into this pre-made uh, design, you can see like I have already combined everything under the name. For example, this is app bar. So I can just disable it, enable it with just a single click. Under the app bar, I have just the title bar, and all the things are named properly, like settings on, settings to, all the things are named properly. So I'll also encourage to just start organizing your layers in the beginning of your design so that you don't mess up in the later stage. Because later, after hundreds of layers, you won't remember that which layer is what. So just come back to here. I will just make it here. Similarly, you can just copy any hold any icon from here and just paste it here. But I'll just simply copy this icon and reuse it. After you control D one widget, it will automatically understand the spacing and the things that you need to like put it here. So after one control D, it will automatically align and position your next copied widget accordingly. So what our left widget does here, our left widget is just the progression bar of the page we are in. So for this is the first page. So if I click on the next, it will just uh, become like this. These are like the progression bar. So also, where did all these designs come from? In the next slide also, I will show that where you can get the idea from all these designs. And to make a good design, you don't need to be like know many good softwares. You don't need to know After Effects. Don't need to know Illustrator. You don't need to know Photoshop. Yes, if like knowing it's good. Like if you know something, it will always be helpful throughout your life. But the main thing of the designing is your eyes and your design sense. Just if you feel something bad, tell it bad. Just openly in front of anyone. If you feel something bad, tell it bad. If it's something good, take inspiration from it and see how you can like make your own design improve from that good design. Try to be that good designer, not just like going to a certain website, which I'll tell the names of later, and copy the designers of that good so-called good designers. Try to be your own designer. Like design is something that will always be helpful throughout your life, as long as you are an coder, as long as you are a product maker, as long as you are an engineer. The design will always be helpful to you. Not only design, not only engineers. to every field. For example, you are an architect, you'll also, there is more use of designs there. So design is everywhere. And if you know certain things like this Figma and a little bit of other tools, it will always be helpful. This is my personal suggestion, that it has helped me in lots of fields. For example, to someone told me to make a app, like gave me an assignment for some internship and all those like job offers, and I made my own app with my own designs. Yes, everyone take reference. I also take a reference from a good design. Like I just see a good design. Like for example, I need to make a chat app. I'll see a chat app design, but I won't copy it. Like I'll just take some good things of that, and I will try to shape it in my own way. So that's how designing is done. If you are a good designer, you'll get priority everywhere. So I ranted a lot. So just come back to the what we are doing. So now we need this heading title and all this body. So I'll just open this type tool again, and I will type what is liquid galaxy. I'll just increase the font size a little bit. Just position it accordingly. And now I need this logo. Also for reference, uh, I made this logo myself. Like last year when I was a contributor, uh, I was like making a bit of logo of the Liquid Galaxy and all. This is not the only logo I made. I made two more logos. So this is one of them. And for your reference, I made this in After Effects and Photoshop both. There is an animated version of this logo also. So I'll just position it according to my wish, and here this logo. Now we need this content. I'll just open again. It's too big. I'll set it at 22 again. Offset's gone. Yeah, let's open the text again. And what to write? Uh, I hope that everyone knows this text, that lorem ipsum. In any web development, or if you're familiar with any kind of app development, we all know that lorem ipsum is just a dummy text we all use. So you can just Google the dummy text in the Google, but I'm not. I hope that everyone knows it. So I'll just copy the lorem ipsum one. Oops, Control Z, and I'll just paste it here. I need to make this a little bit shorter. Also, I'm not here. I'm not holding any button. All those suggestions you are seeing, it's automatic. Also, how did I style it? Uh, at first, you won't get something like this. You just need to make a font size. This is like here you don't see, like this is by default. Like this text element is by default, but you don't see the justify here. So you can just open this three dots, and it will show this alignment justification and all the other advanced properties that you want to access. So I will just select justify, and it's looking perfect for us. Also, this is the boundary within which your text will remain. You can just drag this boundary just like any other object. So I'll just set it to this. Also, the topmost stands from where you start, and the bottom can be any. Like it will always overflow around the bottom. You can just like turn that off and on, and you can just start from the end or start from the start, like alignment, all those properties, everything you want, you will get here. See, at first it was looking only this 6 to 7 widgets are there, but getting a little bit confusing, right? Because all these sub properties, for example, I created on this text, and I get all the sub properties of this text, that height, width, like constant, margin, stop, padding, and all the things. So don't get overwhelmed by it. Just look into each widgets one by one. So I will again just copy this topmost layer, put it here for these two buttons. Oops, as I said, I forgot to add this icon here also. This is button 1, right? So I'll just drag this layer under this button 1 group, and this is button 3. Yeah. There was a duplicate of that but previous button. So I'll just drag it here. Let it put something down. You can just type previous. And for now, I'm just keeping this icon. You can just you can just replace it with any sorts of arrows. Okay, let's show how to make arrows. First of all, you don't need any kind of icon to make arrows. There is arrow maker in Figma already. Just from where I selected the rectangle, click on that, and you get the option to uh, select the arrow tool. Just click on it, make it, and you can just change the color here. I am not preferring much of the alignment issues or such, because you can take your time. Also, designing takes a lot of time. Many of you may think that designing is fast. No, it's not. As I said, it's the code of all the products. So suppose you are the designer, and under you there are working 10 developers who will code with that design. So there are many coders who will just copy that same design and try to replicate the same design. Like, suppose there's some alignment issue, the developer may not understand that you didn't do it intentionally. He will just try to make the same alignment as the designer told him. So a good design, a proper design is very much important, and the designer needs a lot of effort to make that good design. So I just put this arrow also under this button, copy that button here. Oops, I only click, only the rectangle got copied. So now the whole button is getting copied. You can make it next. Just drag it a little bit left. This right. Yeah, this is good. You can just change the color to this export. The shadow color also. Everything seems looking like almost complete. We are almost at the end. Before that, we need to make this tiny little circles to show at which page we are in. So just make 3 dots. Let's just make the second dot. I'll just give it a stroke property. For example, the same as effects. I'll just click on the stroke plus and it will open a new stroke. I'll just select this blue color, and inside it will be hollow. Like, you can just set it to 0, the center fill, and we get this beautiful blue circle outline. Just Control C, sorry, Control D. And again, you can just shift click to the topmost layer, and it will select all the layers in between those two selected layer. And you can just group again, and you can name just page number circles. And we are done with the design. It's looking good, right? Also, as I said, if it looks bad, you can just comment it down there in the Discord that it's looking bad. And I am not much of a pro designer myself. I am also a newbie. So we are done. We are almost done with the design. And at first, as I told, that if you want to change a single color, you won't go around with every widget changing this color, changing that color also. As we create variables in any coding platform, you can just also create variables here in Figma also. So in local variables, you can click on this button here, open variables, and create variable. There, it can be a color, it can be a number, string, boolean. And as you can see, I have already made some of the variables early hand so that it's much simpler for me. I already made a primary color. So to attach that variable with this, I can just click on it and the selection layers. And why it is showing two colors? Because we are creating a group as a whole. So all the layers under it and all the properties it will be shown here. So just click on this rectangle because we want to select the individual color. And in this field, you can see this 4 dot around button. Click on it, and you will be shown with all those local variables you have created. So I'll just select primary. See, it's now similar to this color. Similarly, same for the effects also. In this button, in this drop, I can just remove it and click on to link with the pre-made variable effect. I'll click blur primary. See, I got the same effect. And with this, you can just link all of your widget, all of your properties with those variables. And if you make a change in that variable, it will change all of the widgets properties. I can now just if you want to see a demo, I can just make see all of the buttons linked with this will change. So I'll just Control Z. And similarly, you can make a local variable also. You can make an effect. You can just type like a blur properties. You can add more than, you can also add more than one. And drop shadows, similarly, you can just create all those all those values we have assigned to it earlier. Similarly, you can assign it to here also. And that's how link all of your widgets with the pre-made variables, with the pre-made styles. So you don't have to come back to each widget individually to change only a color. And in this demo, I am only showing this color, like colors and effects. You can also make text font size and like logo size, image size. You can also make predefined variables and you can just assign them. So you don't have to like this height. For example, this height, you want to preserve that height for any future purpose. So you don't have to like remember that 98. You can just make a variable and link it here. That's how it's done. So coming back to the slideshow, now we are done with the design. So let's come back to the slideshow. Demo time is over. Now here comes the main challenge, that you can make good designs, but can you code it? So I am here for you to give you some tips and to show how I wrote the code for that same design. So we are going to code in Flutter. So why Flutter? Flutter is an open source framework developed by Google, and it's one of the few native platforms that works in every field. For example, you code once in Flutter, you don't need to code again in Swift for iOS. You don't need to code in Kotlin or Java for Android. You don't need to code in HTML and CSS for the web. You write one code, run your code, like compile your code anywhere. This is the most advantage of Flutter. Another, like some other advantages of Flutter is that when you code, you can see the life changes already in your any platform you are rendering it to. It's also very fast. Some memes regarding the coding: when you code, you'll find bug. When you solve that bug, you'll encounter another bug. But don't stop. Like, don't stop coding till you have solved that bug. You'll have problem, you'll lose patience, but don't leave. Like, never giving up is the key to the success. So here are my tips to how to code from a Figma design. So first, break down the code into rows, columns, and stacks. Start with the bottommost layer, as I said, with the background. Then with the after that, it's your choice. Like, you can start from the background text and all such, and you can come to the app bar later, or you can code that app bar first and come to the body content later. Always make a healthy file and reusable class structure, because that is very much important. Like, don't put thousands of lines of code in just a single file. That looks very bad. Like, suppose you have a container with the same design. This container with the same design, don't write container design like properties, text under it, all searches again and again, because there are four containers. But four containers, or if you can take the total, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 containers. Don't make like different containers every time. Like, don't just control C and control V that uh, your written container everywhere. Just make it into a separate class and just call that class every time. Make your UI responsive, at least to a certain degree. For example, you are coding in a uh, emulator with a particular pixel and resolution, but you don't want your code only to be fixed within to that screen boundary. Suppose it's a little bit larger for a different person. A different person, like everyone won't use the same emulator as you. Uh, like, I will use a different emulator than you. So at least make sure that your UI is at responsive at least to a certain degree. For example, the new person using, like, running your code into his emulator, suppose it's a little bit bigger. Don't write your code in such a way that everything gets cropped out, like everything gets crammed into a little space, and all those extra space that that person have in his emulator uh, don't get take the advantage. Similarly, if that person has a little bit shorter screen, just you don't need to always make the UI responsive in that point of view that yeah, it's website and it's coming to the like mobile site, and you need to make a separate UI for that. No, like that is also required, but not always. Like, if you want to make a fast UI code, don't make like that much, like you can put that much effort later. Like, first you make the UI at least responsive to the certain degree. For example, we have a row this kind of, and it's going like the new screen is this much. So make sure that your row adapts to the new screen. And if it is also small, just make sure that yes, your UI will break if your like the new screen is smaller than your limit, but at least to a certain limit, make sure that the row is visible and it's working perfectly. Also, emulator is only for the development purpose, always for the production. If you are working in a Android app development, always try to check that your app works in a real device. You always have, like everyone has a phone, check in your phone. If you have an iPhone and you are developing for an iOS platform, always check in your iOS. And in the website, you can already check from your computer itself. So now it's coding time, like how I coded that design into a Flutter. So just let's go to my Android Studio. Also, this is the theme of this Android Studio. Ignore this latest sticker. I'll just start with the main.dart. Also, I am making you understanding this, assuming that you know the basics of Flutter. I'll I'll assume that you know what is like how to make stateless widgets, stateful widgets. You don't need to be a much advanced or intermediate to follow my steps. I have made I have written my code in such a way that even beginners can understand. So, but don't I'll assume that you know some basics of Flutter, that is rows, tags, columns, all these things, like all the basic things. I'll assume that you already know. So let's start with this main.dart. At first, I am making sure that my app always run horizontally, like in landscape mode. For example, this is the emulator I have created. If I just make it state, it will always run in the landscape mode. So this is to make sure that then I am wrapping my stateless widget in the provider scope, because I have used RiverPod as the state manager here. Why RiverPod? Uh, RiverPod is basically one of the most advanced state manager available for Flutter. The guy who made RiverPod also made Provider. Many of you may not know Provider, but may not know RiverPod. So basically, RiverPod is the upgraded version of the Provider. So, and RiverPod is like it will become the next version of Provider. So if anyone of you code in Provider, make sure that you learn RiverPod and try to shift to it. There are many alternatives to RiverPod. Like if you can just skip RiverPod also, and you can code in Block also. Block is also a very good state manager, but don't use GetX. GetX is only for the beginners. If you try to write many advanced state managing system, GetX will fail. So make sure that learn RiverPod. It don't take like more than 2 hours to get a good grasp of the RiverPod. So let's start. At first, with the initial route, I have only home page, and in other routes, you can declare like other pages and all such. But for our demo purpose, we have only one single screen. So let's jump to the home page. Also, before jumping to the home page, make sure to follow a healthy file structure. So what is a healthy file structure? For example, here in the main, I haven't written anything else from these two things, like from except main and routes. You can just declare your language, like in language setup here, but all the things that only you need to do in the starting. And in the starting, I only need to ensure the main, the Flutter engine, which is done by this line. Then all the preferred orientation of my app, and then the routes. Apart from it, don't write this homepage, like for example, this homepage in the main. Always keep a, like according to me, always try to keep a set of class of the similar type in a different file. So let's go to the homepage fast. After that, I will come to one by one. For example, under the pages, I have homepage, page 1, 2, 3, 4. Extensions, I'll come to later that what is extension. Constants, different constants are under different files. For example, in this constant, I am already defining this bar size. What was the bar size? This is the bar size. For example, its height is 98, but Flutter renders differently from Figma. So the exact pixels you can see in the Figma is not exactly in Flutter, and Flutter you need something little bigger than Figma. So usually it's only 1.2 times than the properties mentioned in the Figma. So I'm going with the bar size of 130. Padding is all around the padding that this space. The space between this and this, you can always measure this space. You can just take a line tool and just measure a stain from here. That is 31. And as I said, it's take a little more uh, pixels than the Figma. So I have made it 35. Then roundness 32. Roundness is this curveness of every containers and buttons. So I have declared it earlier. So if I make a change here, suppose if I make a change 5, I make it 5. And see, everything got shrunk by 5. So I'll just undo it. And our app will get restored to the original position. And the advantage of this is that you make a change only to a single variable, but your whole app will react to it. So it's always a good convention to make use of this constant value. So you make one change and your app may react, your whole app will react to it. Images, all these asset images here, I always declare it under a different constant class for referencing, like easier reference later. So I want to change this background name, so I don't need to search everywhere in this code that where I have declared this asset and all. I can just make a single change and it will, as I said, the whole app will react to it. Textiles also, like all the textiles I have used, I have also made it under a different value variables. This font also I've used enter. So from here I've used this font. I have just googled the font. There is a website to download your fonts. You can just download your font and put it in a separate file. And I hope that you know how to add assets and fonts here. So going back to the images, text, next is theme. So in the themes, I have declared abstract class and another class that implements that abstract class. So why abstract class? I could have just make anything like this class or any other class, but abstract class is made because I can use this class in a state variable manager. For example, under the provider, in the settings provider, I have declared this theme provider. Also, you may think that I have declared I have made a separate file for just a single variable, but there is only a single variable here. While when you will be working on a big project, you will have hundreds of variables under this single file. But always make sure that even for a single file, always make sure that you practice a healthy file structure. So in this theme provider, I can just call a theme dart and it will just assign to that class type theme. and I can just extend that class under subclass and override each value to make sure that the like theme dark has all the colors that I want. And just to show you an example of this abstract class, you can just like make a theme light of that, and just you need to like override all of these values. That's why this error is coming, and I have just changed the like naming of those opposite color and all. uh, and then after after this, anywhere to change your state variable, you can just make themes provider equals to themes.light or themes.dark. You can just make an equal to like that with this abstract class. So that's enough for this like file conv uh, file convention. Coming to the home page, at first I am listening to all those providers with a consumer widget. If you don't understand what is a consumer widget, just think that it is a stateful widget with reverb pod added to it. So if you just make a consumer stateful widget instead of a normal stateful widget, it will also allow the state variables to be able to listen to all the variables. So here I am listening to the themes as well as the page number. This is here I have declared the page number by default is the first page. So if I make any change in the theme from anywhere in the code or in my app, this is only a single screen app. Suppose I have different screen in the settings app settings page. I will, if I change that theme, it will also, as it's listening to the state manager, it will automatically react to that change and will change all the widgets according to it. So that's how you make a listener of the provider and make your app react to it. A scaffold, I'm starting with the background color. Uh, the background color is this color. In this here, you can select the just background color. Also, you can just click that to unlink it. I'll go to this variable and I can just click any hex and print it like copy it here. So that is my background color here. So I'll just a little bit fast forward it. Container with a screen size and height of the screen size, like the screen size I have to make the app responsive. Like if the screen size change, our app will also react to it. So that's how we make it dynamic and how it works. There are some util functions I have created on my own. You don't need to learn everything. You can just copy my own helper functions into your code. Also, one thing I will share my personal thought on, as I said, copying the code. Yes, you can copy the code. That's why you are open source. But don't copy the code blindly. For example, just don't go to someone's GitHub and yes, this part I need the backend of this file. I need the algorithm of this file. Don't just copy that, like don't just go there, select it and control C and control V. Don't do that. Like at first understand the code, take the reference from that code, that how he or she has done that code, then write your own code. Yes, your code may be similar to him or may be exact to him, but make sure that you always understand the code. So I am sharing my personal experience in my GSOC that there are many functions you can do in Liquid Galaxy, and like turning off that like rig, like how the like how to go to a certain location, all those things. There are many past contributors in Flutter, like for example, yes sir, who will also take your session in the UX. So I just went to yes sir GitHub I didn't copy the code. I just went to him and just went through all of his code to see how he had done it. Oh, he had done it here with this command line. Okay, I can do it in a similar way, but I didn't copy that code. Like if you always copy the code from Google, from you can also copy the code from ChatGPT now. But if you always keep copying, you will never be able to create your own code. Suppose you copied the code and someone else tells to explain me to that code or make a little bit variation of that code, you won't be able to. So make sure that you always understand the code first before copying it. uh, Copying is okay, but copying without understanding is never okay. So that was my personal suggestion, that always try to understand the code in depth so you can make any code of your own when you need it. I have broke the design into different columns and rows, which is also shown here. So at first, I am making it into a column with this app bird and the body. So this is the column. So this is the column. At top of the most, I have this app bird, and below it, I have this expanded body. That is the rest of the body. So red line means I am eliminating that from my code. So eliminating that means like I am covering that explanation. So at first go to the app bar. In the app bar, I have uh, created like 4 expanded widgets of different flex. Flex is kind of a ratio. So 5 plus 2 plus 2 uh, will give you a 6, 11. So out of 11, 5 spaces is taken by this first widget, 2 spaces will be taken by this widget, and so on. And in the first widget, what I have done, I have just created a sized box of that bar height. This is the bar height of that bar height. And in its style, I have declared a text of Liquid Galaxy, like that Liquid Galaxy demo with a style I have declared here. Like in this constants, I have already created this bold style. And even if you're declared with a constant, you can always modify your predefined style with this function that is copy with. And I am changing this font size and color to accordingly. Then what is this? What is this add blend theme? Uh, Add blend theme is what basically it's creating this blood effect. The blood effect you have here is creating this. So it's not created magically. Like it just there is no similar like a default function to create here. So what is this? This is a special type of class known as extension. Many of you may not know it. So I will be explaining it into a little more depth. What are extensions? So extensions are basically kind of subclass you declare on our class. So this is, I am declaring it on a widget. So on a widget, I can modify any widget and apply that extension on it. So this is a function container on the of that extension. So I'll return a container, like return type of container. This is the function name, and this is the parameter color. So I'm to add that like shadow type of effect. At first, I have declared a box decoration of the color to make sure that it's transparent with opacity 0.7, border radius, some that curveness, and finally the box shadow. And in that child, I am returning that original widget that on which it is called upon. So on the like on which it is called upon. So here dot add dot blend thing. So it will be called upon this sized box. On that sized box, it will add that container with that following theme. Then it will keep the sized box as it is. So that's how the extensions works. Similarly, to add spaces, you need to add a sized box, right? Like sized box, hide this, sized box with that. But it's a tedious job to write sized box, this sized box, that again and again. So you can make another extension on that sized box. This is declared on num. So I can just make one like 101 dot pw to make sure that it works. It will work like it's basically equals to sized box of with 1 2 3. So that's how it works. So that will get that value, and this is similar to this dot two double, but you don't need to declare like you need to mention this. Flutter works like automatically understand that we are working on this class only. So you can just remove this and it will work like that. So extensions are very helpful in your day-to-day coding. Just a second. Yeah. So that's how extensions work. Similarly, I have made a reusable widget called theme button. See, I have been like under the theme button. There is this container with this like lots of widget. So I didn't like copy all those widgets again and again. I just compressed it into a single class, and I just compress it to a single class and using it here with all the mentioned parameters. So all this like let's go to the theme button. Theme buttons are all these buttons like this button, all these buttons. So it's again extending a consumer stateful widgets due to a river pod. Then it's starting with ignore pointer. Ignore pointer is basically to disable or enable your button mouse region to create a hover effect. Currently, my emulator is not working properly. I to just to reflect a single sense, I have to hot reload 2 or 3 times because I have certain issue with the emulator, and there are certain games that I play and it clashes with the like virtual environment of the emulator. So that's it. But if you test in your own device or in your own environment, it will work. So mouse region is for like making sure that your when your mouse enters the region, it will create a hover effect, and on basis of this, it will also change colors. So again, as I like it, that's just a text button. With the on pressed function, we have declared like we are taking the parameter from the user only. So running this, and accordingly, it is just rendering the UI. Creating a row like in between. See, I just didn't click the Figma, and it was zooming in my whole like window. So in this, this is a row. This is one element, and that is another element. So there's a row with icon and text of the certain heights and widths. Where did I got this font size and icon size? You can just click on it and get this font size. And as I said, a Flutter renders a little bit smaller than the Figma, so you need to make it a little bit bigger. And that you can just, while doing that design, you can just change all those variables and see it. In between, I have 25 width. Using that extension I have said earlier. Then again that extension on that on this whole widget. So if our widget color is none, null, also this is in Flutter, this is null operator. So if this is null, it will take this, or if it is not null, it will take this. So if without any user mentioned color, it will automatically take this default color and act accordingly, and it will just render a shadow and container of that color, which I mentioned in the earlier extension. Here went our theme button. In the app bar, again, like all these three buttons, 1, 2, 3, all these three buttons similarly. Just the last button, I just made it enable first because we don't, this is a stat button, this is not a button. So it will show the stat of whether our app is connected to the Liquid Galaxy or not. This is just a demo app, but if you want to take this design further and implement some sort of connection with the Liquid Galaxy, you can use this stat bar to show that our app is connected to the Liquid Galaxy or not. We are done with this app bar. So this red portion is done. Now we are left with this left widget and the whole body. So let's go back to the home page. Expanded is this part, like this whole bottom part, this part. And under the expanded, I am just making sure that it's padded only to the top a little bit more. Wait, sorry. Expanded here. So I am going to the row because as I see, first one was column. So now this time we need to make two rows. So in the first row, I have the left bar, this left bar, and in the second row, I have this expanded again, expanded body, and this is the page of us. Like you can just render a different page based on this very like a state provider you have declared earlier. Just a change in this variable will cause this whole body to change. So you can just make your app like this. Then these are all different bodies. So by default it's page one. So let's go. I will come to this left bar later. Like this left bar, it is all like animating based on this which page we are in. I'll come back to it a little bit later. Before that, let's finish with the easier part. Page one. This is the heading. This is the what is Liquid Galaxy. This is the heading with the font size and color accordingly. Then in this column, there are three column. One, this middle one, and third. Middle one is again splitted into two. This text and this logo, and third one is also splitted into rows, like this button, the right one, and the middle circles. Oops, I just made space. This is like I keep on pressing like space like this here, right? So it's just become a habit. So yeah, the first one was text. The middle row is again separated into two rows, as I mentioned. The first one is the text, and the second one is the image shower. Image shower is just a custom class I have made to just render images. I don't need to write container decoration again and again to show the images. I just make it into a simple single class and I prefer to use that class. So it's simpler for me also to show the images. Then we come to the interface row. So in this interface row, these buttons and all these circles are there. So let's get to the interface row. What we have here? Again, that theme button we have declared earlier. But this time, what is this? This is the ternary operator that if our page number is 1, don't show this previous button. That there is no need to show this previous button we have made in this design. It was only for the design purpose, not the actual coding purpose. So we don't need to show this previous button here. So if it is the first page, don't show this previous button. Just render a blank sized box of the same size. Then the middle center dots. This is just a list view builder. I am generating these circles. If the circle index is equals to the page number, it will show white. Else it will just make a stroke of with the secondary color. Then again the next button, don't show it when we are on the last page. There is no need for the next button when we are in the last page. So, and how the button are working, like on paste method, how it's working. So if you learn a little bit of the river pod, you will understand that with the notifier and state function, you can just change the value of that provider. So at, like, basically it's notify what it does. It's all the widget dependent on this variable will change. Like it will know that this variable have changed and I need to rebuild that widget. So it will make sure that all the widgets dependent on it will know that it has its value has changed. Similarly here also, this is plus plus and that was decremental operator. So it will just shift to that page like that. So we are almost done with the 90% of our code. The only thing that left is our left bar. Uh, I guess you guys are getting bored, so I'll just finish it fast. But this is the most complicated one. So again, I am just listening to all these variables and I am just making a bar max width of this width. This is the width. I need to know this width. So this is some maths functions. And again, constant values here comes handy. Constant value comes handy here. If I just make a, like, if I just hard coded in like a 20, 30, 130, I needed to come back to here again and again. So if I just make a change here, it will automatically know that this has changed. So this is very helpful where you need some kind of maths to make sure your screen is, like, your app is kind of responsive. So this is a stack. So in the stack, this blue one, more deep blue one is the second layer. That light blue one is the last layer, and all these icons are the topmost layer. So this is the bottommost layer with primary color, that is the light blue color one, with the max possible height, like bar max height. And the second bar, this is container. You can just simply make it a container, okay? You don't need to make it an animated container. It will just work perfectly fine, but without the animation. So turning your container to animation is not that hard. And as you have imagined that all those smooth animations in Flutter is hard. No, it's not hard. It's just 2 or 3 lines of change and your app will perform very smoothly. So just turn your container into animated container. Give a duration at which, like, it will take the time to animate, and you can skip this curve for now on. Like the curve is like the if you're someone from video editing software or Photoshop expert, you will know how this curve works. So for now you don't need to know how this curve works. It's for some advanced. You can always search in the Google if you want. But if I make sure, like, make you understand it, it will take much more time. So I'll skip it for now. Then height. This is some math according to which it's reacting to it. Like all these heights, it's just some math which you have to make on your own when you code. So this is, you make sure you cannot, like, I cannot just make it explain. It's just only for a single case. In a different case, you will need a different kind of mathematical function to make sure that your bar is only occupying that much of width as you want. I just wanted a little bit thicker than the topmost bar, so I just multiplied it 1 to 1. Then this board, like topmost layer, all these icons, this is very simple. Just a size box with column and column with the main axis alignment space around it. So it's take equal space from the surrounding and occupies all those 25% section of this, like, column. So these are all same. this is I kept it same because you don't need to like make a separate class. If your widgets are small like this, then you don't need to like make a separate class for these widgets. But if your widgets took like a 6 or 7 lines of properties, then you have to make sure that you make that icon a separate class, and it will require the icon to make a separate class, because after that I will be add like it may be added that on tap it will something happened, on hover it will something happen, if some screen is crossed then it may be marked blue or some other color. So all these properties when you add it will like automatically get bigger, and you cannot just copy paste the whole thing again and again. So you need to make sure that it's in a separate class. But for the demo purpose I have kept it uh, here only for better understanding. And lastly, these are like as I said, these are some different pages. The first page is this. This is the first page, and all the second, third page are all just like blank page two. Page two. And why I've declared like something 0.ph? Because this is space like main axis alignment. The alignment space between. So this is just a blank uh, widget, so that it assumes that there was one widget on the top, so the second widget should be in the center and the third widget should be in the last. These are some things that alignment tricks that you will get used to when you keep coding in Flutter. So similarly, this widget, like this is also changing. You can also animate this middle button, like this body is changing. You can make it that it's fading, like it's the page content of the page is fading into page content of the page two. Similarly the content of the page two is fading with the page three. Or you can like give different animations, so if it is swiping left or swiping right for the next page, or swapping in the reverse direction for the previous page. There are many sorts of things that you can do with UI and UX. This comes under UX designing, which will be covered by Yersan later on. This session was focused only on UI and how to convert that uh, UI I have made into Flutter, maintaining that similar perspective, like similar colors, fonts, and all those things. So hope you guys enjoyed it well, and hope this was my first session. So I hope that it was not boring. So coming back to the slides, we're almost at the end. So just stay with me for 5 minutes more, okay? So some personal tips. It's always good to know a handful of design software. So you don't need to know Photoshop to be a designer. So if you may think that I don't need to know Photoshop, I don't need to know Figma, I don't need to know a video editing software because I'll never be a designer in the future. No, it's not. Even in your daily life task, at least the like basics of Photoshop, basics of any video editing software you like, basics of Figma, you should know. Like it's mandatory to know, according to me, because that will help you a lot. And trust me when I am say it's a lot. Like if you are a good designer, I am saying it, I am repeating it again, you will get a lot of preference everywhere, because if you have the ability to attract someone from very little things, for example only your design, then the person in front of you will automatically get impressed with your design, that yes, if this boy or girl can make such a good design, he is a good coder also. Like you give this impression to that person in front of you. So it's always good to know this design softwares, and it's not much of a hard work to know these softwares also. Like just one day for each software, like one day for Figma, one day for Photoshop, and one day for like two like video editing software is a little tough. So you can invest a 2 day for a video editing software, and 4 days, only 4 days, and you are ready for anything. Like if someone gives you an image to just change it, like you need to change the color. You need to just crop out the background. If in your own images, so you can just do it in the Photoshop. Illustrator is for SVG and logo management. The difference between vector and raster image is that raster image depends on the pixel, so pixel and resolution. But vector image doesn't depend on that. So if you make a SVG tree, the more you zoom in, like you keep on zooming it will remain that same color. It will remain that same resolution you have created. You may create it small, you may create it big. No matter how zoom in or out you do, it will maintain that quality of that figure. So this is the difference between raster image and vector image. After Effects is for animation and VFX editing. It is for like it is used by almost all of the professionals in the movie industry, like where even Marvel and also use After Effects, where you need to create all the VFX effects, you need to create 2D animation, you need to create anime, video editing, everything is used by After Effects also. It is a little bit hard to get into, but I promise that if you learn After Effects, you will be able to understand every source of animation that it is done. Just give it a 3 days time, and I'll promise that you will come and tell me later that it was a very helpful. Like after 1 year, it will help you a lot. And Blender is for 3D modeling and animation. Like After Effects was for 2D and Blender is for 3D. It's a little bit different to compare. Like it's not comparable like Blender and After Effects, but yeah, Blender is for 3D modeling and animation. These are some websites you can uh, use on a daily basis for designs. Behance is by Adobe only for the social media for the designers. You can connect with other designers and like share your idea, get a lot of idea from them. Dribble is the most important site you can see on the screen because Dribble is the hub for almost all of the designs you can get. I'll just show Dribble because this is the most important. You want to make a chat app. You need like in this GSOC also, if you want to make a write a proposal of your choiced app, you just search it. Like you just search what kind of app you want to make, and then you can just like get an impression of how the other creators have done it. It's not necessary that the you'll get the exact design of your choice uh, here, but you'll get some idea that how others have done it. So this is very important site. There may be other sites like Dribble. You can just Google it. Icon Finder is for like finding any icons you want, like icons illustration. For example, a person standing in front of the railway station, up like Photoshop icon, Figma icon, Google icon. You can just all find it in the Icon Finder. Color space is for like to assist it in your color choice. For example, you want to make a color, you want a color theme. You want the primary color, you want the secondary color, you want the opposite color, and you cannot decide which color to use. So you can just go to that website, and there are many, like it's not the primary website. Like there are many similar websites to color space. You can just go there and just choose your primary color, and it will generate all of the like secondary colors according to it, which will look good in your app. So finally, thank you, everyone of you. It's I guess it's already uh, one more than 1.5 hours. So thanks for uh, holding your patience and making it to the end. So any questions? I'll be turning off my sharing screen now, and I'll be answering to your questions now. Hello, sir.
People is not hearing me now. They are hearing me on whatever place.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Prayag. I'm saying no questions, but at least I see 3 different Oh, cool. We have a question from Joshua, but
Yes,
first
sir.
first things are Amit, as always, is taking a look at the streamings, and he says thank you for the session. Say it was just saying that it was not boring. That's good, and I learned many new things. So I say that this is the proposal of the training sessions. So thank you, Amit. And then Deb also sent us a thank for the informative session. And then we have a question, and thank you from Joshua. I recently came across clean architecture and block logics for Flutter development. I explored it a bit. Is there any advantages of implementing those in Liquid Galaxy apps, or shall I stick to the usual architectures? Clean architectures, block
Yes.
logics for Flutter, or what is your answer?
Yes, I'll always suggest to use a state manager in every app. Like if you don't use a state manager, you will find it soon that your single file is getting thousands of lines of code, 2000 lines of code, and you yourself won't be able to understand that code if you come 2 days later. And so where was that my button? You won't be able to find it. So always make sure that you implement any state management app. According to my preference, it will be Riverpod, Provider, or Block. So either of the three you can choose, and always make a state manager for every app. Like even for small project, even for large project, make sure that you use a state manager.
Okay, we will wait for a minute. If there is any other questions, anyway, you know that, and all the people seeing us, that you can find Prayag on our Discord channel, Discord server, and then you can ask him or whatever other mentors available about any questions you have, and we will try to answer you after that. So Amit is writing something, and again, Prayag, thank you very much for the session. I think we have. Do we have another session? I don't remember. We do.
Yeah, almost we are at the boundary of 2 hours.
I know that we are at almost over. I was asking if I don't remember if you have any other session already pre-programmed. Amit says, can we go through MBBM architecture?
Yeah, you can.
And could you please explain for the people that don't know what means MBBM architecture?
I must have also forgot the full form of it, but according to the architecture, it's basically separating the logic, like business logic from the UI logic. Your UI will be separated by the business logic that you have behind it. As I have mentioned, like the file structure, I have also mentioned that all my providers are in a single different file. All my logics are in a different file, and my UI is also in a different file. So if I want to make a certain change to the logic, I don't have to tamper anything with the UI of the app. I can just go to a different file made separately for the logic and change that. So like in my smart city dashboard also, I have made like a different file for the connection to the LG, for downloading to the different files. So if I want to make app change, like suppose I have an error to connecting my app to the Liquid Galaxy. I don't need to change any UI. I don't need to go to those files at all. Like I have made a separate file for those connections and connections. I'll just go to that file. I just make modification to that particular function and only and everything will work fine. So always make sure that your UI is not clashing with the logic.
Amit is making the clarification of the letters, and of course are model view model. Okay, yeah. So let's wait for a few seconds, and if not, we will end the stream because we have another private thing in 5 minutes, so it is good to close now. I see no more questions, so if any of you have any other questions, again, you can go to our Discord channel. The address is available in our website, liquidgalaxy.au, and then you can get the others here, join our Discord, and you can make questions, Prayag or any other mentor, and also to the community, because we are something like 400 plus people on the Discord channel, and some of them has large experience on the Liquid Galaxy stuff. So Prayag, thank you very much. We are leaving this now. Okay, bye bye. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.